Walang dash shot sa ata.
Possess.
Kita mo naman. Well, siya na.
Teka. Oh my god, 12 million. Oh shit.
Sa Yupak na yun.
Okay. Oh! 24 million, bro! Oh my god. Alright. Again, just a disclaimer. This is an unorthodox build. This was not made to compete with meta builds. So basically, this is the version 2 of my build. A lot of changes have been made since the previous one. Now that I'm level 100 already, I've made a lot of changes with my Paragon board, adjustments, tweaking, and everything. And we'll go through with that later. So first off, here are my basic stats. Now, you'll notice how I worked more on my crit damage, vulnerable damage, versus close, versus injured, and berserking damage. Alright, so let's now go through the gears. Starting off with the helmet, you want this aspect, so you will get 2 charges for your death blow. You want the barrier on your chest piece. It's good when fighting elites. Hammer of the Ancients for the gloves. You want the leap earthquake. This gives you increased damage reduction when you're inside the earthquake. You also want this aspect, so this will reset your leap whenever you hit an enemy with a stomp. Now for the weapon, this is a unique weapon. It's not mandatory, but if you get it, it will be much better for this build. Now the affixes for this weapon aren't that spectacular, but the main stat you want to look for this weapon is the critical chance against injured enemies. You want that as high as possible. Since you're building a death blow, you want the enemy you want to kill the enemy when hitting the death blow, so it will reset your death blow. So it will be a continuous combo with your Hammer of the Ancients. And more crit chance when enemy is injured is better. Now, if you don't have the overkill weapon, you can go through with the standard ancestral legendary with these stats. So you'll notice I placed the aspect where you deal more damage when the enemy is stunned. It's up to 80%. Now, when you go through the one-handed weapons, you'll notice how the same aspect is on here, where it deals only 40% because it's a one-handed. But if it's in two-handed, you'll get like up to 80%. Now, when you equip this weapon, you would want to change this with a different weapon with this aspect. Since we're removing the overkill that gives you 36 crit chance against injured enemies, you want to replace that with another aspect that gives you another or an alternative crit chance passive. Here, I only have like 15% increased critical chance against injured enemies. It's not perfect, but it's it's better than nothing. You want more crit chance, so you know you'll hit critical damage every time you do the death blow. So let me just switch this back for you. So next up, you want the stomp earthquake on the second one-handed weapon. Now, whenever you're inside an earthquake, it's either the leap or the stomp earthquake. You'll you'll have the same uh, buff for increased damage as well as increased damage reduction. So it doesn't matter if it's the leap earthquake or the stomp earthquake. All right. So next up, two-handed slashing. So as a barbarian, uh, you can select either the two slashing weapon, two-handed two-handed sword, two-handed axe, or the two-handed pole arm. But what you want to go what you want on this build is the two-handed sword, since it gives you critical strike damage bonus, and the other two, like the axe gives you damage to healthy, and the pole arm gives you damage to injured. You can have the pole arm, it's also good, but I went for this one instead. I want more crit damage. So from for this weapon, you want this aspect. So after spending 100 fury, your next weapon master skill deals 200% increased damage. So that's good. So after 4 hits of your Hammer of the Ancients, your next weapon mastery, which is your death blow, you'll deal more damage. So for the rings, you want this is very important. You want this aspect where you gain 6 fury per second while berserking. Now since this build is 100% uptime when berserking, you'll always gain um, fury because of this aspect, which is really good. Now I'll go through with the with the abilities later, which also buffs this uh, this aspect or this passive, but I'll show you that later. Now next, since we have the barrier on your chest piece, you also want this on your ring. It gives you more damage while your barrier is active. For your amulet, um, this is I went for because I need defense for my build as well. So you gain more damage whenever you deal. Oh, you gain more armor rather whenever you deal damage. It stacks up to 75%, which is good. All right. So next we go to the expertise. You want to select the two-handed axe expertise because you want increased damage to vulnerable enemies, 15%. Now, since we're not using an axe for our two-handed slashing, you won't get the bonus crit chance against vulnerable enemies for 10%. But it's fine since if you have like at least 42% crit chance or base crit chance, it's okay if you don't get this. But if your crit chance is like around 30% only, you want to equip an axe for your two-handed weapon or two-handed slashing, so you'll get the bonus for the 10% crit chance whenever the enemy is vulnerable. Alright, so next we'll go through the skill tree, starting off with the basic skill, which is the lunging strike. You don't have to level this up, you just need a level 1. Next is the Hammer of the Ancients. You want this as high as possible. I got mine at for level 9, which is good. You want this, you also want this. For the ground stomp, you don't need to level this up. What you just want is this one. You need 25 fury whenever you stomp. This is important, which I'll explain later. Next, you want the leap as well as this one. Enemy will be slowed 70% for 5 seconds when you hit them with the leap. Now, these three or this three is very important. Um, this one gives you 9% reduction while berserking. Um, this one, you'll gain berserking for 3 seconds whenever you hit a brawling skill, which is your leap. Now, whenever you hit someone with the leap, you'll get 3 seconds berserking. Now, since you have the ground stomp skill, when you hit the enemy with the stomp, this will reset your leap, which will give you another 3 seconds whenever you hit the enemy. So this will be like a continuous loop for your berserking. That's why it's 100% uptime. And apart from this, there's another skill that will give you another berserking uptime, which I'll show you later. And this one gives you fury regeneration for 18% whenever you're berserking. So imagine your berserk time is 100%, you'll get 18% increased fury generation, which is good. All right, next up, death blow. You want this as high as possible. I got mine for 12 of 5, which is really good. Now here, you'll get more damage when you're fighting a boss. This is where you deal more damage than the regular elites or the mobs. This is the other passive I'm talking about. Well, it gives you berserking time whenever you hit the enemy with a death blow. So as long as you kill the enemy with a death blow, hit them with the hammer of the ancients, and then death blow, it's a continuous loop. You'll be berserking 100% of the time. So this is good. Next, you want this. Increase damage to close enemies, of course. 9% increase crit chance against stunned, slowed enemies. You want this. This is also good for your combo. So once you hit an enemy with a death blow, your next core skill, which is your hammer of the ancients, will guarantee a vulnerable status on your enemy. So again, this will be a continuous loop of vulnerable and killing the enemy with your death blow, and vulnerable, berserking, and so on. You'll get it. This is a bonus. I mean, not a bonus, but also important. More damage for enemies that are injured. I got mine for 6 of 3, 45%. That's very good. So, the last skill. Now, at first I had the Wrath of the Berserker instead of this one, but I opted out from this. I went for this one instead. This is also good. It grants you unstoppable for 5 seconds. Increased movement speed, fury regeneration, and more damage every 50 fury that you spent while berserking. This is good, but if you want this ultimate, it's fine. You can put this on, but for me, I prefer this one since I can pull enemies. I can hit them all at once. Well, that's the basic explanation why I want this. Now, once you get this, you also want this one. This will guarantee that the enemy will be vulnerable whenever you hit whenever you pull them for 2.5 seconds. Next up, this one, maximum fury, but this is what's more important. You gain more fury whenever you swap weapons. Now, since you always swap with the Hammer of the Ancients and the Deathblow skill, this is very beneficial for your build. Now, speaking of uh, the weapon types, it's very important that when you go to your your skills, I'll show you, and you go to your death blow. This one, if you scroll down, you can select the type of weapon that you will use when you do a death blow. Make sure that it's on your two-handed slashing and not on your two-handed um, bludgeoning. So if you put this one, your swapping to weapon passive will not work. It has to be a slashing weapon. That's why you want the two-handed sword on this one. All right, so going back now, last one for berserking purposes, of course, you want this one. It gives you more damage when berserking. Finally, let's go through the Paragon board. So the glyphs that you want for this board are for the following. Starting off with Exploit. This increases damage to vulnerable targets. But what you want on this glyph is the bonus. When an enemy is damaged by you, they become vulnerable for 3 seconds. This cannot happen more than once every 20 seconds per enemy. This means any form of attack will inflict vulnerable status to enemy. Since you're using the Overkill unique weapon, um, it spreads out your damage, and anyone that gets hit becomes vulnerable, which is very good for this build. Next, we have Ire. It increases damage while berserking, which is very good. Mortal Draw. This is important since you always swap weapons from Hammer of the Ancients to uh, Death Blow. So you'll be using the mace and the two-handed slashing weapon, and this is very beneficial for the build. Next is Territorial. It increases damage to close targets. And lastly, Might. You want the bonus on this glyph. You deal 8% increased damage while wielding two-handed weapons. So for the first board, I placed Mortal Draw. This gives me up to 129% damage with skill that swapped to new weapons. So my glyph is level up to 21, and that's the maximum that you can get for this board. You want to get this one for physical damage, life. This is for armor, HP. Alright, for your second board, you want the Decimator. You don't need the legendary node since you have multiple passive that inflicts vulnerables. You don't need that. You want the Might glyph on this board. Now you'll notice it's not level 21 yet, it's still 16. So right now I have up to 15% vulnerable damage bonus with this glyph, but it'll get higher. So you want to get the rare nodes and the magic nodes for vulnerable damage. You want those. You also want this. This one for two-handed slashing weapons, a bonus. This one for physical damage, some HP. You want that. For our third board, we have Carnage. You don't need to get this. This is optional. I opted out from this ones since I needed some points for my board, so I didn't get this one. I placed Ire on this board. You'll notice it's level 21 already. Gave me up to 79.2% damage while berserking, which is good. You want to get the rare nodes and magic nodes for damage while berserking, as well as damage reduction from close enemies. You want that as well. More bonus right here for berserking, and here as well. For our fourth board, we have Flawless Technique. You don't need this legendary node since it's only for one-handed weapons. What you need in this board is the rare node Havoc. It gives you critical strike damage bonus to 30%. More bonus right here, you need those. Now if you go up, um, you can place the exploit glyph on this board. It's also level 21. This gives me up to 23% of vulnerable damage bonus. I'm gonna get some of these as well for vulnerable damage. And some of this for damage reduction from close enemies. For our fifth board, you want the Warbringer. Again, you don't need the legendary node. What you want is the socket, because this gives you up to plus 49 dexterity, so you can take advantage of the glyph bonus. I placed territorial, which gave me 97% damage to close enemies, which is good. You also get bonus physical damage right here. Lastly, our sixth and final board will be the Blood Rage, where you don't need a legendary node. What you want to go for is just the berserking damage bonus. This one. Unfortunately, my willpower isn't that high enough. I didn't get the bonus, but still, I got these, and it's worth it. Alright, that's basically it. I tried making the video shorter. I hope I was able to explain everything. If you want to ask questions about the build and stuff, just leave some comments. And I appreciate if you hit the like button and subscribe, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Farewell.